Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show. We're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. That other badass pilot, the one who is my friend, my wingman, my main man, Dr. Paul Thompson. How are you, brother Paul?
I'm very good, Commander Drew. It's good to see you this morning. You look good. I don't know, did you take a lap in your cold dip pool today?
No, the pool is warm and the cold dip is the bomb. In the Arctic Warrior, I have a cold dip, and yes, I did.
Okay, and if you have any interest, I can tell you about a procedure I had yesterday.
All right, go ahead then.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I had my first laser procedure, laser toenail procedure. A little background, my feet have not been my greatest asset growing up. People made fun of me from, I guess, about the last 50 years or more. Anyway, I decided to have something done about it, and I got a toenail, a laser therapy thing. It's 3 sessions, lasts about 20 minutes. Hit you with like 2 sets of lasers. I felt nothing but cold there. I did feel a little twinge at the super duper laser for like a second and a half, and I jumped a little bit. He told me to
Wow,
stay.
that sounds really interesting. How much did that thing cost you?
It's for 3 treatments. It's $600, $599.
Woo! That's
$599. He thought 3. He said, in your case, it might take 5. No guarantees, and they give you some stuff. I got to put some stuff on every morning and at night.
Well, thank you, Dr. Paul, for telling us about your toenails. So how about we start off with a quote? Optimism is a happiness magnet. If you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you. I love this one. Optimism is a happiness magnet. If you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you. And do you know who said that, Paul?
No.
That was the Olympic champion, Mary Lou Retton. And I can see her right now on that Wheaties box. Do you remember Mary Lou?
Very much so. Mary Lou Retton was, I guess, the darling of the U.S. for most of the 80s or latter 80s. Do you remember the Olympics? She was in the 84 Olympics that was in Los Angeles. Remember that?
Yes, they were great Olympics, and she was a great gymnast.
Yeah,
And if you want to talk about gymnasts, you know the name of our show this week is How to Fly in the Air with the Greatest of Ease. Be Simone Biles. Simone Biles is in the Olympic trials. I've never seen anybody go that high in a jump. It was absolutely incredible. And last Olympics, she had to bow out because she got vertigo in these spins she had. And then you told me that jump that I was talking about was actually named after her, Paul.
Yeah, they call it the Biles. And she gets so high up in the air. I saw there's like a chart, I guess a ground level chart in her head, and it said she got to 12 feet. But I looked at the chart pretty good. The top of her forehead is actually a little bit above 12 feet. Because 12 was the nearest foot. She's on 3 pictures. She's actually above that. And they said that's like LeBron James going up about 14 feet.
Simone Biles had vertigo last Olympics, and she didn't actually participate in any gymnastics for 2 years. So she's only had 2 years of practice. And then there's another one, Suni Lee, who made it. They told her she would never do gymnastics again. She had 2 kidney diseases. Can you believe that, Paul?
Yes, yeah, and she made the team. It's amazing. I watched I guess the finals recently, and she made it. And it's most of the team from 21 that's going back with a couple of additional people. But that's amazing. And the thing about Simone Biles is she's a small person, but she's not the youngest on the team. In fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah, she's 26, and the new girl is 16. What's her name, Paul?
Hesley Rivera.
16 years old, huh?
Yeah, young. Well, I guess maybe that's old for gymnastics. I've seen them as young as 13, but that's fantastic. I think they're the best all-around athletes.
Oh, no doubt about it. They are super strong. So there's 10 years between Simone and Hesley, but this is going to be a great Olympic team. But let's talk about this a little bit about these Olympic trials, because every other country makes sure that their best athletes go to the Olympics. In our country, in track and field, and in swimming, and in gymnastics, you have to win those Olympic trials in order to go. And what happened this year was, I think it was a hurdler, a woman hurdler who was the best in the world, an American. She fell during her race, and so she's not going to the Olympics. And I think she was the world record holder or something.
Yeah, she wasn't a hurdler. It was the 800 meters, and she was the gold medal winner at the last Olympics, and she just got tripped up in a pack of folks going around, and she tumbled and fell and was pretty much out of the race. She completed the race, but there's no way she could have won. Very, very heartbreaking to see that. And they don't. I guess there's no do-overs. I think there's a protest, but the USA Olympic Committee said no good, no go. That's the way it is.
Yeah, but what do you think, Paul? Do you think we should send our best, or do you think we should send the winners at the Olympic trials? Because it's not fair if every other country sends their best and we only send the winners. Dr. Paul, did you know that the other Olympian, Jordan Childs, actually has a group called Brown Girls Do Gymnastics?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she has an organization where she gets young people to start doing gymnastics in underprivileged areas. And I think that's great. Well, let's talk about what's fair, because a lot of people in the world say, well, this is not fair. That's not fair. Somebody told me a long time ago, the only thing that's fair is where you get cotton candy. That's the only thing that's fair. But should we send our best, or should we send the winners, Dr. Paul? That's the question.
Yeah, well, generally you assume that the best are the winners, because I think in track and field, if you get too many false starts, you can get bounced out.
What if you're the fastest guy in America? Or no, what if you're the fastest guy in the world and you fault and you don't go to the Olympics, yet you're an American? Is that fair?
So I would argue it's fair to everybody else in the race.
Well, let's talk about fair in the WNBA. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, I just saw, sold out the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, 20,000 people for a women's basketball game, which was unheard of before. Now, Caitlin Clark didn't make the Olympics. And they're saying Caitlin Clark should have made the Olympic team, not because she's better than some of the people that made it, but she will bring more exposure to women's sports. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they're still going to bring more exposure to women's sports because there's a WNBA All-Star game coming up, and guess who's an All-Star? Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. They'll actually be playing together. And guess who they're going to be playing against? It's not going to be the East and the West. The All-Stars are going to play Team USA. It's going to Paris.
Wow, that's amazing. So you think the WNBA has it right? Forget about putting up the best. Let's put up the ones who will get us the most exposure.
Yeah, because this is all going to happen roughly around the same time. So I think it's I won't say saving face. Both will, Team USA and the All-Stars will both kind of profit.
Well, let's talk about fair again. What about Bronny James, LeBron James' son? He just got picked in the second round by the Los Angeles Lakers. And a lot of people are saying that he wasn't deserving of being picked in the second round. But don't you think that will sell tickets, LeBron and his son playing?
Absolutely, absolutely. They're seeing it. I know he's got a lot of pull just with his connections, and he can obviously play to some extent. He's just 19 and didn't play that much in college because of a medical issue that's been cleared. But you look at it and he's got a lot of pull. I think he refused to sign a two-way contract. If people know, a two-way contract is one where you can they can contractually have you with the main team, say the Lakers, and also their G League team. They can move you as they want to. You can play up to, I think, 52 games in the regular season on the Lakers, for example, but the rest of the time you could be in the G League, or you could be in the G League for the whole time or all but one game. But he said he wouldn't do that. So they gave him I call it it's a stipend. It's just a little bit of money, a stipend to get started. But his notoriety, I mean, he doesn't need it, obviously, but his notoriety will make him famous. He'll put a lot of pressure on him too, because he'll have probably a lot of enemies on the court and in the stands, depending on where he goes. But with his father and his history, he'll probably be able to handle it, pretty good.
Well, his father just signed for $52 million a year, and he signed for $2 million a year. And his father just signed a 2-year contract with a 1-year option to leave, and he cannot be traded. So whatever LeBron wants, I'm sure LeBron gets. And I'm sure he'll take less money to get a championship team. Don't you
Sure.
think, Paul?
Oh, I think so. I think so. Build a team and do it with his son. I don't know. Have there been any other father and son duos playing in the NBA?
Nope, only in baseball.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever, they've been father and son coaches, but never a player have they played together. So LeBron will be the first.
Yeah.
And how about this, Paul? Remember last week's show, we talked about customer service. We talked about Apple, we talked about American Express and Chick-fil-A, how great their employees are. And the name of it was, who the hell hires these people? So how about I had to call Apple? And believe it or not, it was about the Wingman show because I couldn't get something on my phone. Anyway, I called Apple and I got this senior technical guy named Billy. What a great employee for Apple he was. He fixed my problem. And guess what, Paul? He's now a subscriber to the Wingman show. How about that?
Good. Congratulations. Welcome, Billy. Good to have you aboard. Pass this on to all your friends.
Hey, check out those badass jets we got behind us. Paul has 2 F8s and 2 A4s. I have an F4. Now, for people who don't know, F stands for fighter. A stands for attack. Dr. Paul and I were attack pilots. Dr. Paul flew an A7. I flew an A6. And I always said that's the only reason they make aircraft carriers is to attack. Fighter guys, they're just like support, Paul. They protect the ship and they protect us.
They do a lot of stuff. Yeah, I kind of miss looking at the varieties of airplanes, because everything now is just like 2 kinds of airplanes, really, 1.5. Some kind of an F-18 or a variant. I guess you have the F-35 too now that's deploying. But
yeah, and I think they call them F/A 18s now.
Yes, fighter attack. It's multi-mission. Even the F-14s, before they I won't say got rid of them, before they stopped flying them, they took on an attack mission. With their lantern pods, they could deliver bombs very accurately.
Yeah, Paul, but they could not deliver 28 500-pound bombs like I could on an A6 Intruder. You'll never get that much weapons in the air like that again.
I think then the A6, the only thing that carried more bombs, I think, was a B-52.
I don't know. We could actually carry 3,500 pounds if you took off the gear doors. I heard that. I've never seen that happen. Everybody out there, thank you so much for supporting the Wingman Show on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on TikTok, and especially on Instagram. Thank you so much. We surely appreciate it. And we have a website, wingmanshow.com. That's wingmanshow.com. And on that website, you can get our newsletter. And our newsletter this week, oh, what a good one. The ultimate guide for choosing between leasing and buying a car. And also on that website, you can ask Dr. Paul and myself a question. And it's called the Frequent Flow Line. And I have a question for this week. A man from Cleveland, 31-year-old man from Cleveland, Ohio. He says he respects our financial mindset and he wants to know the pros and cons of leasing a car. He wants to get a car, so he wants to know if he should buy it or lease it. Dr. Paul, what do you think about leasing or buying a car?
I tend to be a buyer. How about you?
I leased a Mercedes a while back, and it was a very expensive car. What happened was I had lower monthly payments, so I could actually lease that type of car, and it was a great car. The problem with leasing, though, is there's a certain amount of miles you can go. And if you go over those miles, it's like 25, 35 cents a mile. It gets very expensive. And the one thing, don't you like this, Paul? You don't have to worry about repairs or maintenance when you lease a car because you get a new car every 3 years.
Well, that's pretty good, Drew. If you get a decent car, you probably shouldn't have that much going wrong with it in the first 2 or 3 years, but it can happen. I think it's best. It's good if you have a company and you use that as a write-off. If you can write off a business, I think that to me that would be the game changer.
That's true. Also, if you like the latest features, technology, you'll always have a new car. Now, with buying a car, I think you should buy a car if you expect to keep it for a very long time or if you drive a lot of miles, don't you think?
Yeah, well, here's a little fun fact for you. I won't give you the date, but tomorrow will be the 40th year that I've had my Porsche. In fact, no, I bought it 40 years tomorrow, and it's
Wow.
amazing. Some stuff doesn't work, but it's an amazing vehicle. I grew up. It's older than my children.
What kind of Porsche is it?
It's a 944. I only made it for like 5 years.
Wow, that's incredible. You had that
Hatchback
back when
doesn't.
we were flying in the Navy.
Just as I got out.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
got that as soon as you got your airline job.
Yeah, I got it like honestly, 2 and 3, 4 months later. I
Yep,
was
as soon as
single.
you started making that money.
Yeah, impulse buy.
Yep. Another reason to buy a car, if you think your life might change in 1 or 2 years, it's very hard to get out of a lease. So when a 3-year lease, you have to wait 3 years. It's expensive if you get out of the lease early.
Okay. Let me ask you, when you had your lease, did you have any maintenance problems?
None at all. But I will tell you this that I didn't know. That's a great question. They wanted to get me for tires because I wore down the tires in the 3 years. But you got to be very careful with the lease and you got to watch the small print, Paul.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
So I hope that answers your question in Cleveland. And you know what that brings us to? That brings us to a Wingman TSA from the 11 facts in life. Under fact number 10, don't judge. We are all one race, the human race. Once again, don't judge. We are all one race, the human race. You know, Paul, the only thing that separates people are their cultures. The only separation I wish we had in this world were between good and bad people. It's not color, because in Africa, you got people who don't like each other. Serbia and Croatia, they look exactly the same. They don't like each other. Haiti, the gangs are fighting other black people. It's all BS. Has nothing to do with the color of your skin. The only differences between anybody is the way they were raised, Paul.
Yes, everybody should read your favorite book, *Sapiens*.
That's right. It's called Sapiens, and it states exactly what I'm saying. You know what the gouge is in the Navy? The gouge is shit you need to know. And you say it's stuff we need to know that's not illegal. Well, how about this gouge? What do you think is the number one exercise that you can do if you only had to do one?
The one I did it flying, squats.
You are 100% right. And if we're going to do that, let me ask you some more questions. Here's your little exercise test. How many minutes of exercise should you get per week, according to the Center for Disease Controls and Prevention? Is it 10 minutes, 60 minutes, or 150 minutes, Paul?
Yeah, for a whole week, I'm going to go to 150.
That's exactly right. And what I do is I work out an hour each day in 20-minute segments, 5 days a week. So I do 20 minutes of cardio, I do 20 minutes of strength training, and then I'll do 20 minutes of yoga. And that comes out to an hour a day. So that's 300 minutes I get in a week.
Okay.
All right, Paul, how about this one? It's time to start your workout. What are the best things to do to prepare? Pick two of them. Warming up with static stretches like holding a toe touch, warming up with dynamic stretches like walking lunges, taking a light jog, or taking a pre-work supplement.
Well, Drew, I would say to warm up with the static stretches, then the dynamic stretches.
Well, you got one out of two right. Warming up with dynamic stretches like walking lunges and also taking a light jog. How about this one? There are many effective ways to motivate yourself to exercise. Which of the following doesn't work? Doing exercise that feel like play, not like work. Asking a friend to cheer you on or even work out with you. Reward yourself with a favorite food after a good workout, or rewarding yourself with some fun activities like listening to a podcast like The Wingman Show or watching a show. Which one shouldn't you do?
I can't use the word I was going to use. Probably the favorite food part.
The favorite food part.
There's going to be like
Last one,
chocolate cake
Paul.
and hamburgers.
All right, true or false? Running for just 5 minutes is about as good for your longevity as 15 minutes of walking.
Good question. I bet the answer is no.
The answer is actually true, Paul.
Is it? Okay.
Amazing. All right, I'll tell you what, we'll do one more for you. How often should a regular runner get new shoes? Every 2 years, every 6 months, every 1,000 miles, as soon as your toes poke out in front?
Well, definitely before your toes poke out in front. No Fred Flintstone. For regular runners, probably 6 months.
That is correct. And we'll stop it at there because you're so smart. Very good, Dr. Paul. All right, Dr. Paul, you know the name of the show is called The Wingman Show. And the reason we call it The Wingman Show is because we believe that we should take care of each other. And this week we have somebody who takes care of a bunch of kids. Dr. Paul, would you let us know who our Wingman of the Week is?
Sure. Our Wingman of the Week has a lot to do with one of the Olympians. You mentioned Jordan Childs at the top of the broadcast, and she's got an organization that brings young people into gymnastics. Well, this gentleman does the same thing for baseball. His name is Ernest Horton, and he's a teacher in Chicago Public Schools, but he's also a baseball coach. And he was concerned about the lack of Black representations in Major League Baseball. So he'd been pushing it in high schools, and he's got a company called Black Baseball Media. And Black Baseball Media puts on events, I guess, in different parts of the country. And they bring people to baseball games. He has youth groups, and he has a big Instagram presence and a big personality to go with it. And he's trying to expand it tremendously. We'll show some pictures. But he was a baseball player himself. He played at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And what he tries to do is to develop programs in Chicago area and in other places to bring the facilities and the things you need to develop a good baseball player. Do you remember, Drew, do you remember the people we used to see in baseball all the time? We just talked about the passing of Willie Mays and Hank Aaron and Bob Gibson. That was during our lifetime. Remember them?
I sure do. And I didn't realize this, Paul, but only 6% of Major League ball players now are Black. And one of the reasons Ernest thought was that equipment costs money, the fields cost money, and that young kids in underprivileged areas can't get the equipment or the fields to play. That's why soccer is the #1 sport in the world, because all you need is a ball, period.
Right. Yeah. Baseball requires more. And there's something called traveling baseball. I used to work with people that were used to be deep into that. In fact, they organized their own traveling baseball where they play teams from all over the place, and it's quite a cost to that. So what he's trying to do is he's really trying to get kids to college, to school, because most of the Major League Baseball players, yes, they used to get them out of high school too. I think got NBA players, but that doesn't happen much now. They typically come through some kind of a college system. And also in college baseball, apparently there are no full ride. There are no full ride scholarships.
Wow.
So it's a little,
Even at big schools like Texas?
that's what I've read. That's what I've read. There are no full ride. Maybe there is one or two, but there can't be too many. So he's trying to push this stuff, and he's got some pretty good events. So again, this is a gentleman on his own time that's built an organization to develop, young people into something they normally don't do. The participation in baseball, I think you said it was like 6-something%, and it peaked from like the years 1962 to like 92, around the time the Chicago Bulls got popular. And a lot of folks are just more into football and basketball because it's a faster sport. Baseball takes a long time, and it's a slower sport. It just is.
Paul, when I was in high school in Lincoln High School in Brooklyn, I won't ever forget one of my friends, Lee Mazzelli, was picked up by a major league team. They gave him $250,000 and a brand new Firebird. And I won't ever forget it. It was mega cool. I went on to college and went on to the Navy and everything. And I realized, because I wasn't keeping up, Lee Mazzelli was a great player with the New York Mets. Amazing. And he was ambidextrous. He was a great athlete, though, in high school.
I remember the name.
How about that?
I remember the name. I do remember the name. And I knew the guy who in the Navy had both of his sons played Major League Baseball.
Wow.
I saw pictures of them one time. They were like little boys. They're like 4 and 6. They eventually went on to play. I think they played for the Washington Senators or something years ago. They're retired now, so you never know. But that's the story. Trying to get more folks into baseball.
I have a neighbor, John Dennis and Ginger Dennis, who has a son, Jackson Dennis. And he is a baseball player. He's playing for a community college now, going on to a 4-year school. And then John told me this: if you can throw 90 miles an hour, that's $3 million automatically. How about that?
Wow. As I recall, the realtor that helped us get this house, his son was being looked at for baseball. This is more than 20 years ago. And he was in high school. He said the Yankees were looking at him. I haven't kept up with him. I don't know what's happened, but baseball is pretty big down here.
Well, baseball pays a hell of a lot of money. A shortstop that you have no idea their name could be making $20 million a year. Wow. Well, Dr. Paul, for you and all our listeners out there, anything that you guys think is important, anything that you think is beautiful, and Dr. Paul and all my listeners, anything that makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, and it's been good talking to you today, Commander Drew. And to all our listeners, we appreciate you. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like. It helps with the algorithm. Subscribe and hit the notification button so you'll get an alert anytime we have a new episode. We appreciate your participation. Pass this on to someone else. We're trying to grow the channel and spread the word. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.